Greetings, Cap fans. Rick here, and we've got a special announcement for a new contest, courtesy of the fine people at CoverPrice.com. They're giving away a free paid 6-month subscription to one of our listeners. That's right, you will get all the cool perks on CoverPrice.com for half a year. There are 2 different ways to enter the giveaway. First, leave us a 5-star review on Apple with your comment, and you'll automatically be entered, and we may even read your review on the air. Second, share one of our YouTube episodes on your social feed and send me a screenshot, either by PM or email me at capcomicfans@gmail.com. So, 2 easy ways, and either one gets you an entry into the giveaway. Or do both and get 2 entries. Details in the show notes and on our Facebook page. Good luck. Well, greetings, Cap fans, and welcome to episode 268 of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Verbanis, and as always, I've got the best gosh darn co-host out there. You know his name. It's Bob Lucius. Oh, Bob. You can't judge an apple by looking at a tree. You can't judge honey by looking at a bee. You can't judge a daughter by looking at the mother, and you can't judge a book by looking at the cover. Oh, can't you see? Oh, you must judge me. I look like a farmer, but I'm a lover. Can't judge a book by looking at the cover.
It's often a poetry jam around here, Rick. You are a man of wisdom, but I don't know that song.
You don't know that song?
I don't know that song.
That was a big hit for way back in 1962, called "You Can't Judge a Book by the Cover," written by the legendary blues songwriter Willie Dixon, but more you'd probably know Bo Diddley.
Bo Diddley, right?
Yeah,
man, you pulled that one out.
I did.
Yeah,
it was covered by a bunch of people afterwards, though. It was covered by, gosh, who was it? The Yardbirds.
Yardbirds, all right.
Yeah, you know the Yardbirds?
I've heard of them.
Yeah, I know. Don't pretend.
Vaguely familiar.
I know. Yeah. Now the Yardbirds were like that early British invasion.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Clapton was in the Yardbirds.
Right.
Steve Winwood. Okay.
Yeah.
Patti LaBelle did a cover. Hank Williams Jr.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a notable song.
Yeah, and they covered the whole gambit there.
Bob, why am I greeting you with that song?
Well, I got to think it has something to do with the word cover.
Yes.
Am I right?
It is indeed.
All right.
We have a guest on the show today. We'll get to that in a little bit, but we have the leader of CoverPrice.com, which is a really cool website that for all of our collectors out there that love to, keep up on what's going on with current comics, but also really take a look at what their back issues are worth. Ton of stuff. We'll get into that in a little bit. We have some really cool top 10 lists that we're going to get into about Captain America back issues. So yeah, that's why I greeted you with that song.
Well, who doesn't want to talk about Captain America back issues, Rick?
It has been a while since we talked about that. There was a little time, if you recall, that I would bring up the comic that we were covering in that particular issue or episode, and I'd say, "Oh, the back issue price was this." I haven't done that in a while, but I do think our listeners, if they're anything like you and me, they have a huge Captain America collection, and they want to know what it's worth, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely. We always talk about what it costs on the rack, but it's kind of fun to know what it might be worth today.
Exactly. Speaking of today, if you're listening to this episode when it comes out, it's December 3rd. Bob, I can't believe it's December already.
Where did the year go? And more importantly, Rick, we're only a few days away now from my son's 16th birthday, which means he will be driving unsupervised. So I'm a little jittery about that whole situation, to be quite honest.
I don't blame you. You know what? I really regret when my I'm not going to say which one of my kids because it maybe could. Well, we know they don't listen to this.
No, they're not listening.
No. But in any case, I regret, and I'm going to tell you right now, Bob, you should totally do this.
Uh-huh.
There is a GPS thing,
Yeah.
like a little magnet
Yeah.
that you can put in like under the hood, under the
Yeah.
wheel hub. Put that in there, and then you have on your phone, you could track that car at any time and place. And I never did that, and sometimes I wish I did.
Rick, completely unnecessary because not because I trust my son, which I don't. And if he does listen to this, I'm sure that will come as no surprise because if I asked him, he would say, "Oh no, you shouldn't trust me." So we're square on that. But he's got a particular make model of an electric vehicle, and I have the app on my phone. And it tracks
Nice.
everything. I can see him, like how fast he's going down the road, which lane he's in. I can even turn the camera on inside the car and see what is going on in the actual cabin as he is out.
Oh my goodness, Bob! Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
If our parents had the ability to do that for us when we were 16.
Oh no. Yeah, I know. Right. Rick,
oh my God.
Rick, here's the really fun thing. Sometimes he goes out and he can't drive it yet unsupervised, but he'll go out in the garage and sit in it with his friends to listen to music. And I can get on the app in my office and hit the horn. And not only that, I can make the fart sounds from my app inside the car because it has a fart sound horn. So I mean, it's a brave new world, Rick. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Where was that when when my kids were a little younger? Oh my goodness.
I know, right? I can't wait for that first date night.
Well, happy early birthday to Bobby. Speaking of early birthdays, there's a couple of comic creators that have birthdays this week, Bob. When's Bobby's birthday? What date?
Oh, December 7th.
Well, right before and right after, we got some comic creators.
All right.
So December 6th, we have Mr. Paul Jenkins.
Paul Jenkins. Had him on the show.
We did. We have way back in episode 173, we had Paul Jenkins on the show. And actually, I've had him back in the day when I used to own a comic book store. He was a guest in my store, and he was signing, I think, Wolverine Origins back in the day. But we had him on episode 173 if you want to check it out.
Yeah, that was a great conversation, Rick.
Yeah, he talked about, because he was the writer for Captain America with Paulo Rivera, what was it? Mythos.
Mythos, right.
Right?
Yeah.
And then he wrote also a few issues of the
Theater of War.
Theater of War, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And actually, he got a little personal too. He told some personal stories about how he wrote those stories based on some people that he knew, veterans, and it was a really heartwarming story.
It really was, yeah. Definitely, you should check it out if you have not listened to that episode.
And then the day after Bobby's birthday is December 8th, and that is Eric Larson.
Eric Larson. Wow, what do you know? Another guest.
Yeah, we had Eric back on the show, episode 117, and he came on not only to talk about his one-shot Captain America: The End, and we dove deep into that, but also he talked about his ginormous collection of Jack Kirby originals.
Oh, yes, I know. You were salivating the whole time. Yeah. We both were. Yeah.
Well, those are the birthdays this week, and then of course Bobby Lucius Jr.
The third, like Thurston Howell. Right.
That's true.
Yeah, right.
That's true.
We're very unimaginative in my family.
Well, you know what? As much as this is fun, we've been leaving John in the green room a little too long. We should probably let him out.
You probably should. He's probably eaten all the M&Ms by now.
Yeah, he has. All right.
We find Vecna. We end this once and for all. Together.
On December 25th.
We have a plan. It's a bit insane. Everyone in?
He knows where we are.
Watch out!
Get ready for one last adventure.
We stay true to ourselves. Stay true to our friends, no matter the cost.
Found you. Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 2 begins December 25th, only on Netflix.
At LinkedIn, we know hiring is a big deal for your small business. Sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming. LinkedIn uses data that you can't find anywhere else to give you the best candidates, all so you can feel confident you're hiring the best person for the job. And even a little hiring bliss. See why 86% of small businesses who post a job on LinkedIn get a qualified candidate within a day. Post a job for free at linkedin.com/achieve. LinkedIn, your next great hire is here.
All right. Well, the guest that we have today on our show is John Cholinas, who is the lead on CoverPrice.com, and we had him on. We have him on the show to kind of talk about back issues of Captain America. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. There's no. I requested only green M&Ms back here, and you put them all back here. So this is outrageous.
I know. I'm sorry.
You
about
can't
that.
trust us.
Yeah,
You can't.
It's
trust
okay.
us.
Simple
They all taste
instructions. We're
the
not
same.
good at that.
Do you know the John Bon Jovi Brown M&M story? Is that where you got that from?
I didn't know it was Bon Jovi, but I heard like some artists like request people take out all, and they only want one color and all that stuff. Yeah.
I think it's a old wives' tale. I think it's like, I think it's just some sort of urban legend out there, and like everybody has a different artist. Like I heard John Bon Jovi, you maybe heard Patti LaBelle. I don't know, and it's green, brown. I don't know, but it's a cool story nonetheless.
I don't think they taste different. Maybe it's all subconscious.
Well, I'm just telling you right now, if I ever become rich and powerful and famous, I'm doing it. So.
It's a power move. Yeah, you got
it. Really is. Yeah.
Well, you at least got the famous down, Bob.
Oh, well, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right. Before we get in, John, we are known for going on tangents in this show, so I have to go on a little bit of a tangent. The whole purpose, yes, they do taste the same. The whole purpose of the artist requesting a certain color was that when they come into their dressing room, the first thing they do is they look at the M&Ms, and if they see that color, they know that any other requests are probably suspect. But if they see that they honored and they pulled out, because it's meticulous to pull out a particular color, right? Like you actually have to go through some effort to do that. And if they see that, then they know, okay, these people are going to, treat me right.
That's cool. All I would think about is somebody touched every single one of these M&Ms.
Fair enough.
There you have it. Right?
Fair enough. Melt in your mouth, not in your hands, right?
Right.
All right. So, John, tell us a little bit about Cover Price and how you got involved.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I am a Cap fan, probably nowhere near as much as you guys are, and have all that background. But
well, hold on, John. You say you're a Cap fan, and you mentioned the word background. I'm looking in your background. I don't see any Cap. So, are you sure you're a Cap fan?
That's true. Okay, I'm an acquaintance of Cap. Just an acquaintance. I met him at a party once. It was cool.
Well, in fairness, John, behind me, it's all AI. That's what I tell my wife. Not really there. It's all generated. So
I should have did my green screen. Dang it. Next time. No, but no, thank you so much for having me on. And so, yeah, I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of CoverPrice.com. And if your audience hasn't heard of us, what we are is basically a collection management system and price guide all rolled into one. And what happened is in 2016, one of my best friends that I've known since like second grade, even earlier maybe, we used to go to comic shops, play video games, go to the bowling alley kind of thing, all throughout our like elementary school and high school. And as you grow up, we kind of went in different directions. And one day when I was working at an agency in LA for like doing digital work for websites and user experience and stuff like that, he went down into the for Sony Pictures. He went into the entertainment route of things. And so he was the guy who was like working at these studios trying to bring in like, comic book movies, like Walking Dead and stuff like that. And sharing his insight because he was just this huge, blogger and person in that space. And he came over one day to play video games, and he said, that NYX #3 that you have, the first appearance of Laura Kinney, from Wolverine, his clone,
Mhm.
it's worth like $1,000. And I was just like blown away because I hadn't really looked at my collection in a few years. And I think a lot of people collect and then stop and kind of jump back in and out. And so with that, I was like, well, why didn't I know something in my house was worth $1,000? It's crazy. And I had about like 7 or 8 thousand comics, and I'm like, I'm not going to go through them all and try to figure this out because then you have to try to find where it's sold and what it's worth. And so Cover Price was born, and 2 years later we launched, and we've been around since 2018. And basically, yeah, you can put your entire collection in, and it's kind of like the easy button because you set it and forget it. And every time you log in, you can update it, and we'll pull actual aftermarket sales data that we've collected across auction houses, retailer stores, marketplaces, and things like that, all in one place. And it'll just tell you what your comics are worth, and you can sort them. And then over the years, we started getting into like new releases and FOCs, like the full list. So before you go to your comic shop, you can see what's trending already. And there's two sides to comics. I think it's a collectible, which is a hobby that you love and you read, but you also know that intrinsically they might be worth something someday, especially Captain America stuff, from the old, he's been around for forever. So it's kind of nice to know that, like, well, if I wanted to, I can find out what this thing is worth. And then, of course, we do a ton of content. We have a YouTube channel that we do 4 shows a week on, talking about what's happening in comics and stuff like that. So that's basically what we do. And when Rick asked me to come on the show, he said, do you have any lists or anything about like Captain America? And I was like, well, we could pull every single issue ever made of Captain America. We can look at all the data, and we can create some lists based on top 10 stuff that might be of interest to your audience. So that's what we did. And we'll see if it's interesting.
All right, that sounds cool. We can't wait to jump into those. Yeah, and by the way, for people who said when you said FOC, that's final order cutoff date. So for those who may not be aware, that's a very important thing. Listen, as a previous comic book shop owner, the FOC was very, very key because that is like we have to place our order months in advance for comics, and then there's something called a final order cutoff where we can adjust our orders. We can adjust it up, we can adjust it down, and it's really based on any new information or any demand or things like that. And so that is the key. If you're a comic collector and you want to get something, you want to like help out your comic shop and like, yes, please put this on my list. The FOC is a very, very important date because that way you can be guaranteed that comic will be pulled for you.
It's super helpful, I think, to retailers. We work with a lot of retailers with our system because we have so much data. And yeah, FOC, we keep calling FOC the new release day because instead of the retailer guessing on what to order for the shops, it's a good opportunity for them to already know what someone's going to buy because they've bought it basically. And so you're able to get that, and you can get certain ratio numbers for variants and things like that. So you can get harder to find things when you know what you're already going to order. And then you're not left with a ton of back issue, stuff or inventory that you can't move because you had to guess on something. So yeah, FOC I think is so helpful for the retailer. And it is the new releases. Like you put your order in and let people know what you want so they can get it for you.
Yeah, and that's a great point because I don't know if a lot of people realize that, but the thing about there's the newsstand and there's the direct market. So let's describe that real quick, right? So newsstand is going to be if you go to a grocery store and like the spinner rack behind me, right? There's not a whole lot of that nowadays, but that used to be the thing. Or if you went to like a Walden Books and you saw some comics there, that is quote unquote known as newsstand. And then the direct is going to be specific comic shops. These are the ones that are devoted to ordering comics. A big difference between the two is that newsstand, those comics are returnable. So if I'm a Walden Books, for example, and I order 25 copies of, I don't know, the recent issue of Captain America, and I sell 20, then I can return those 5 for credit. And that is, now the difference is they don't get as big a discount, right? So their discount's slightly less, right? But it's all risk free to them. Whereas a direct, they get a slightly bigger discount, not again, not huge, but slightly bigger discount, but none of it's returnable. And so that is why the final order cutoff is so important, because to your point, John, these comics, if I order 25 of Captain America and I sell 20, then I have these 5 extra issues that, eventually I'll just have to bag and board them and price them and put them in my back issue bin and hope that they sell someday. And that may not sound so bad, but if you buy 100 copies of something and you're stuck with 20, that could be an issue, right? And you do that for the 100 different comics that come out that week, right? Then it could be an issue. So the final order cutoff is really, really important, because direct dealers don't have that ability to return, so it really helps them out.
What's interesting is I always thought that the direct to the retailer comics would be worth more back in the 90s and stuff when we started collecting, because it had the cool little character box. I think there's a name for it, like a shadow box or something, where you'd see Spider-Man instead of the barcode kind of thing, and you'd see, stuff like they'd use that space in different ways. And I always thought those would be worth more because they were like, I'm the fan. And so I went, but it turns out, looking at aftermarket sales for the last 100 years of comics, newsstands, there's so many like different reasons why a comic becomes important. And a lot of times it's condition and rarity, right? It could be the exact same comic. And it's so funny. We've seen stuff where the newsstand sells for a lot more in the aftermarket, decades after it came out, because it was in a newsstand, a news rack or a spinner that would typically ruin the condition of a comic.
Yes.
It was something that, you'd find at like Target, Walgreens, Walmart kind of thing, or whatever. And a lot of people weren't collectors. And so back in the day, you go then out like 50 years, or even, 40 years, and you're not going to find a newsstand comic in a high condition. So as you guys know, each comic book, there's so many different little variations of a comic book cover that make it valuable. And it's frustrating at times because it might be just that barcode that makes it worth more, or it might be the price variant. They did price variant stuff in Canada.
Yeah, the 35-cent versus the 30-cent. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were testing out new markets. There's the Whitman variants. There's the Mark Jeweler variants, which are crazy cool stories. So it's like I always tell my co-founder Matt, like we would never have gotten into this had we known how many different variations and gradations of like valuation there is on a comic book, because it is incredibly complex and nuanced for every single one. And there's no, some people out there like try to create a systematic kind of algorithm to be like, if it's in this grade, it's worth 10 times as much. But it's all supply, it's all demand, it's all like nuance. So it's really impossible to do something so abstract without knowing the history of a comic and knowing what the grade of the comic is and all those different things. But it's fun. Yeah. It's fun to know that like such little things can impact the grade like by thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it really is. You bring up excellent points, and for the collectors out there, and when it comes to newsstand, right? I listen. As somebody who used to own a comic book store, I was a comic book collector before I was a store owner. And so to me, when I had my store, it was like, here's all my collection out there for the world to look at. And when we had a new comic wall, right? And in the new comic wall, we would have, there's only so much space. And so I would keep, several months worth of an issue there. And instead of putting them all on top of each other, it was almost like a little bit of like, here's number 1, and then here's number 2, here's number 3, here's number 4, slightly, so that you could see just enough of the edge to go, there's number 1, just enough of the edge to see there's number 2, there's just, and the reason I did it was I had seen way too many people take a stack and just bend it to look behind it. And I was like, oh my God, you are creasing the the edges. You were ruining my comics. And I was like, so I created this system and I taught my staff how to do that. And then eventually, of course, they always have to clean up behind people, because there was always that person who wanted to push everything together and stack everything.
Oh, that's me. That's me. That's my OCD. I'm like, oh, it's got to be lined up.
I'm doing these guys a favor.
I really am helping. Yeah.
But yeah, that was the difference, I think, to me, why newsstand prices were so much higher, or not a lot. I mean, in some cases a lot, but some, because it was so much more rare to find them in a near mint condition.
Truly. Yeah, it really is amazing. And there's so many, I mean, we could do a whole new podcast on just the variant aspect of comic books and the modern age. Like, I don't want to tangent, but like we track all new releases, and we've been doing that for the last 10 years. And you'll look at like there's a little toggle on the website that you can look at new releases by standard cover, and then you can turn on the variants. And it'll go from like 90 comics came out this week, 100 comics, to like 400 if you include the variants. And so it's ridiculous. And then you look at all the the conventions. We tracked over 1,400 variants for New York Comic Con this year, which is last year was 800. So you're talking about like exclusives and variants and color shift and foil and metal and limited print and remark and like all these different aspects of the comic book industry. But it is truly fascinating. I really love this hobby for that reason. I just think people collect for all these different reasons, and they go on themes or characters like Captain America. But there's also these collectors who are just going for that like super, super rare version of a cover that is in perfect condition,
You mentioned data a little bit earlier, and I mean, it just seems such a Herculean effort. Maybe now a little bit easier because all that data is available and you can download it into your database. But when you go back to the golden age, how many titles are in your database?
No, it's a great question. Currently we have over 700,000 comics in Cover Price. We're pulling about 1 million sales per month or so. Wait, let me do my math again real quick. We're pulling about 25,000 sales per day. So whatever that equates to, not 1 million. I take that. What is it? No, it's not. So we're that many per month. And then our system, we have a whole checks and balances thing where our system tries to automatically identify the title, identify the image, identify the condition, and then is it a variant? And then we place it in the correct one. We have a bunch of like quarantine zones and like outlier detection and stuff like that. And whenever something is triggered, we have a team of about 5 data integrity specialists come in, and they're each assigned to check the sales to make sure it's valid once it's flagged. So we have both programmatic and this, but it's about 700,000 comics and growing by about 2,000 to 3,000 per month.
That's amazing.
Since the beginning of we started. Yeah.
I mean, it's very elegant on the front end, but I don't think people grasp what a sophisticated operation this is on the back end.
It's a duck kicking, paddling. It really is. Like, we try to make it as simple and fun as possible, but behind the scenes we have like, it's so crazy. We literally have a development team, data integrity team, content team, and we're doing all this stuff, but it's a comic book website, but it's like, we have just everything happening on it.
So you must have a really big garage to run this operation. Dang.
I wish. We're all, the crazy thing is we're all remote, and the majority of our team is in the United States. We have some people in Canada, some people in Paris and Amsterdam and stuff. We have a partnership with CLZ, which is a collector's app, and so they do stuff with us as well.
Yeah, we do. I use CLZ, so absolutely.
Oh, great.
I'm familiar with that integration. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
John, you said you put together several some top 10 lists for us. So where do you want to start?
Well, the fun one is the top keys. So for those who are listening, a key is a comic book that has been designated as a special issue because it has like in the story, something like a first appearance, a death of somebody, the first team up, the first whatever. So they're kind of like interesting milestone comic books.
Who does that? Who does that, John? Who's the designee? I've always
my gosh, don't even because people, comic book fans will get into fist fights with you.
Right.
What's a key? And you know what's interesting is there's a lot of apps out there that kind of claim everything's a key. And back in the day, comics were like they called them like a grail, like a holy grail kind
Right.
of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a grail kind of key. And those were like the first appearance of Wolverine, the first appearance of Captain America. Like
Mm-hmm.
you knew there was, you know, there's controversy even around those, but like, you know, it was the first appearance. And then as we started doing cover price, we have
I'm sorry, was that Hulk 181 or 180?
yeah. Keys are one of the things that people will fight over. They'll stab you if you get it wrong, kind of thing, you know. So we're good. We're lucky that we're a remote company because they can't find us. but people, you know, email us all the time and be like, they'll say stuff like Hulk 181 is not the first appearance of Wolverine, it's 180, or you know, just a myriad of different things. But a key comic is something that's is designated as a special comic because it had a special event, either the first appearance of a hero or a villain, the death of somebody, a team up, costume change, a creator passed away, like Stan Lee's last comic or first comic. Like all those things could designate a comic as a key. And I know that the question is, well, who's the arbiter of truth in this thing? And a lot of times what we do is we go through and we look at a key and say, okay, this one is like a grail, a holy grail kind of key. Like this is undisputable. And for example, we have some people, reaching out to us saying, this is the first time Wolverine popped his claws. That's a key.
Okay,
This is the first time Wolverine had a haircut. You know, this is a key.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, those aren't keys. And then they fight us and fight us and fight us. So when I say key, especially for Captain America, especially when we look at the Golden Age, these are typically like first appearances of important characters that have, you know, that drive the plot and the story and have been seen over time. Keys get very muddied when you get to modern because it's like, oh, this is the first appearance of Doughboy, no, of somebody, and all of a sudden they're like, it's a key. We're like, well, we don't know if this character is going to even last. We don't know if this is an important character. So there's a whole, you know, thing around it. It's very political, you know. It's hard to get in, but that's what we have. So we have a key list of top keys for Captain America. We could do top variants, which are, you know, you have a standard cover and then typically you have the exact same story, but different cover art, which creates different variants, which have different print runs.
I do love variants.
Yeah, you know, I do too. I like variants a lot. A lot of people, again, another big controversy in this.
It
space.
is very, very controversial. Yeah.
Well, let me share my screen just so you have a visual, because a lot of this stuff is visual. For those of you who are listening, we will do our best to, I guess, talk about what's on the cover. So the top keys, obviously number one is Captain America Comics, number one from 1940. This is the first appearance of Captain America and Bucky. It's the first appearance of the Red Skull, and it's classically kind of known as the Hitler cover. On it, you see Captain America, Mr. Adolf right in the face, which is like just classic, right? Classic Captain America. He comes onto the scene fighting Nazis. Do you guys have an idea of how much, like the highest value for this one of all? Take a guess what it went for back in 2022 on was that April 7th of 2022.
What was the grade?
9.4. So yeah,
Ooh,
good question.
9.4.
Great question.
Oh, gosh, I don't know. 300,000.
Okay, Bob, what do you think?
I was going to say around 900,000.
900. Would you be amazed if I said it went for 3.1 million?
I would be. That's why I lost that bid.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, try to explain that one to Casey, Bob.
Say I. Yeah.
Did you have it at one point?
No, my goodness, no.
So crazy story. Just it's funny that this is the comic. When we started Cover Price, my cousin who lives in Pennsylvania, he reached out and he was like, my wife's father passed away. We're going through his garage. Classic story. In a box covered in soot with no case, no anything on it. We found some comics, and he sent me some photos. One of them was Captain America, number one.
Oh,
punching me in the face. The others were like first Wonder Woman, first Green. I was like, you're messing with me right now. Are you serious? He had no idea. He's like, are these important? I'm like, oh, good Lord. Good Lord. I called up Matt instantly. I was like, my cousin has Captain America 1. This is like when we were like putting all of our money into building the website, and so we were broke as all else. And so he went ahead and sold it on Heritage Auctions, and for everything, I think he sold it. So if you're looking at the image here, we have both raw raw and slabbed sales, which are from aftermarket. A raw comic is one that hasn't been professionally graded and encased in plastic, whereas the slabbed is what it sounds like, slabbed. It's been professionally graded. And he sold his for, I think, around 114 to about 160,000. And all of them together came out to like, when he sold them all, it was like 300 something thousand dollars. But so yeah, Captain America #1, special place in my heart for sure.
Wow, that's a nice find.
Oh my
Heck
gosh.
yeah.
The jealousy and the rage.
I know, right?
All right. Number 2 was, interestingly enough, we jumped from the Golden Age into the Silver Age for number 2. And that is the Avengers #4, which is the first one where Captain America joins the Avengers. We have Cap on the cover with all the Avengers. You have Giant Man, Thor, Iron Man doing his thing. It's his first cover appearance of Captain America in the official Marvel Comics cover. First Silver Age appearance of Captain America. It's the death of Bucky, spoiler alert. And first cameo appearance of Baron Heinrich Zemo. So yeah, and guess how much this one went for all-time high?
In the grade was?
And the grade was
9.8.
9.8. This is a 1964 comic.
I don't know. 350,000.
I'm going to say 160.
Okay, Bob, you win this one. It's 143,000.
All right.
Okay.
Back in
All right,
2017.
now listen. I have mine here.
Ooh,
Mine's a 3.0, so it's not as nice, but I'll take it. It's mine.
Oh my goodness.
What would a 3.0 go for right
So
now?
currently 3.0 slabbed is going for around, we have it here in 2025, we had a sale for about $800. And that's a good indication of how like grade has such an impact on the value of a comic book. The cool thing is you could go into like right now, we also call out, because everyone's like, well, what's my comic really worth? And I don't know what the grade is. We coined something called the most common condition, or the MCC of a comic. And this is what appears, the sales that we have the most sales for, we consider the most common. So we then kind of estimate and say, well, you'd probably have this comic if you have this one, because that's the most that we're seeing for sale. Is it perfect? Probably not, but you can always dive in and look at the actual, data. And for this, we have the most common condition fair market value of which is typically about a 4.0, for about $1,100.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, this is for a lot of folks, this is an achievable grail for them, right? This is,
I 100% agree.
yeah, the number one Captain America comics. No, but we do see periodically in the Facebook group, the Captain America Comic Book Fans Facebook group, that, this is a celebratory moment when people, at last land this particular issue. And so we're always cheering for folks when they're able to do that, because it often represents the pinnacle of their collection.
It was the grail for me, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got your Jack Kirby art and everything, and it just, it looks like Captain America, and he's just popping off the page. Yeah, this was definitely one of my grails, if I can get this one.
All right, number 3.
Number 3. All right, now we move back to, I'm sorry, we keep going forward. It's in the Silver Age, 1968. It's Captain America 100, which is, I keep having to move my windows here, sorry. Which is this one, Captain America 100. And this is the first solo titled Captain America series in the Silver Age, beginning with issue 100. So we have
continuing the Tales of Suspense, right? Which ended with 99. And then this continued Tales of Suspense into his own series. Yeah.
And you can see that the cover with an E price, because we're a COVR price without the E, the cover price, it sold for 12 cents back in 1968. And the highest value that we've tracked for this one was $78,000 in a 9.9. So again, it goes up to 10, and 9.9 being like,
all right. Here's mine.
Oh my goodness.
Here's my 6.0. What would 6.0 go for?
All right. 6.0 is going for about $276.
Not enough. Not enough.
I was going to ask you, John, because, I mean, obviously I think as collectors, particularly when you focus on a particular title or character, you definitely are sensitive to the rising and falling of prices. And certainly we have seen prices on books go up during COVID, during that sort of collector peak experience where folks were or hold up and looking for the vintage experience. And we've seen it back off a little bit. But is there a way on Cover Price to like on like Google Earth to move through time to see how prices have changed?
We do not have that function, but you can go into and click into like see sales data and then go by grade and look at over time. So you can see it that way.
Yeah.
We are going to be building some graphs and stuff that allow that. But I should say, so Rick, you're saying doesn't feel right? The 6.0?
No, what I'm saying is you could not pry this away from me for $276.
Oh, I thought you were questioning the values, and I was going to say, well, there could be issues, of course, because Captain America is a tough title to track perfectly because there's so many series of him. But yeah, what if I gave you 2.7? If you start haggling over it, we'll get you down now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, first solo Captain America. All right, next one we have on the list, number I think 4, is the first appearance of the Falcon, which is Captain America 117.
Mm-hmm.
And that one is classic cover as well. Vibrant colors. You see Sam Wilson with a hawk on his arm. I forget his hawk's name. Like it's actually
Red Wing.
Red Wing. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Red Wing on his arm, and he's facing up against Cap here. And that one went for all-time high of, again, for a 9.8 back in 2022, went for $78,000. But now you're looking at a typical price between 319 to 116.
All right, hold on now.
There it is.
I got a 4.5. What's that go for?
4.5 is about $150.
I don't think so. No.
So no, like
I'm keeping it.
A perfect example of a book that, I got to tell you, I am guilty as charged of following your weekly top 10s and watching how the books that are tracking, or I guess how do you the ones that
trending up and down,
they're trending right up and down, and they're trending because there's some speculation fever, and I've fallen for that. I jump on that too, and it pushes books up, but books sometimes come back down, and we saw that with like this book when Falcon was introduced in the movies, and particularly when it was announced that he was going to have his own film. We saw those peaks.
The interesting thing about comics is it's so tied to pop culture that you're absolutely right. When, especially with Marvel, which was what, like 2000 or 2008 or so, when Iron Man came out, right? The first one, all of a sudden you start seeing speculation and flipping for comic books in a level that never really happened before. You start seeing Hollywood introduced into the space a bit more than it typically was, and more representation in the big screen, and then eventually streamers. And it was interesting because, yeah, once you start seeing those characters, the demand for those books, and we track at Cover Price. We have a whole graph that we kind of have when we give talks on this. But you'll see like the first announcement of them, like nowadays, right? After it was established that this actually moves the price of a comic book, you see the announcement of a comic and you see a spike, and then you see like casting information and a spike, and then it kind of hovers and it goes down. And then the release, and there's perfect times to like sell your comic if you're trying to ride that fame wave, we call it.
Right.
But it's funny because there's different categories. That's for like announcements for movies and stuff like that. Like with Shang-Chi, when that first came out, the book wasn't really. It was a key, but it wasn't really in demand. And all of a sudden, when it got a treatment as a movie, and it was done so well, like it exploded, right? And then it fell back down. But it always falls higher than it was initially. That little bump always does support it. But if you time it right and you use like a set like ours, you can actually see when it's at its peak, and kind of like hopefully if you're going to sell it. I don't know if Rick will ever sell anything though, so he won't.
No, we're not sellers.
No.
We're not sellers. But it is, it is. You gotta have the level of attention of a day trader if you're gonna make money, and it's speculation. But for collectors like us, it's important to keep that in mind, that if you wait long enough, you're probably going to get a good deal again.
One thing we are going to add to the site probably in the early of Q1 of next year is we're right now doing this huge database restructuring that it's going to give us a lot more ability to allow our users to filter the data by whatever they want. And one thing that I think is really important is character-driven filtering. So this, like to create these lists, I had to have my developer like pull all the data, and now we went through a spreadsheet. But very shortly, anyone will be able to come to the site, type in Captain America, and just see everything: story arcs, highest values based on era, variant information, print run information if we have it, connecting to like interviews with creators. Like all that stuff's going to happen probably Q1, Q2 of next year. And I think it'll be very fun because a lot of collecting is character driven. So that's coming soon.
Oh my God, Rick and I are going to look like the Thinker.
Right?
Yeah, you'll be unstoppable. It's crazy.
The power.
So, number 5 on our list is Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, number 13. So this is the first meeting of Captain America and Sergeant Fury. This one looks like this. Beautiful cover, of course. A lot of yellow, and I love the primary colors of this age of comics. And I know Rick just went to go get it. Look at it.
He did.
He has it.
Oh, you mean this one?
Oh,
I don't have this one graded.
What's it feel like?
I'm gonna go with probably very, very good fine.
Okay. So here's a good perfect example. On the website, you can go and see the raw comic. So instead of, because the raw side of the business is people subjectively grading it. It's not like quote unquote professional, grader and slabbing and all that stuff. So what we did is we created raw buckets to account for that variability, because you might be a grade off, up or down. And so this gives you kind of a sense of, if you're in the very good ballpark, this is what those are selling for. So very good fine is between 3.0 and a 4.5. Going raw about $96. But the cool thing is, if you look over here, like sometimes there's books that are called a gap book, and that's when you buy it for maybe $10 raw, but if you get it graded and it's a high grade, that book might be worth like $200 or $300. And so it's a gap that it's like almost worth it, because then you just know the value's increased because of that grade jump. And it's weird because, we have a whole talk on the internet. The aftermarket was saved by eBay and companies like, when eBay first came out, and I think that was in 2000, the aftermarket, there was the big comic book bust, after like the death of Superman and all that stuff. And eBay for the first time was allowing aftermarket transactions, but people didn't feel comfortable because they're like, well, grade impacts the value of a comic so drastically. I'm trusting that you're saying that this is a 9.9 or a 10.0, when in reality it's probably like a 9.4 or 9.5 or a 9.0. And the slabbed company, the grading companies came out and said, we'll verify that. And they were doing, of course, baseball cards and other collectibles, and happened to be comic books. But it really did provide a level of authenticity and legitimacy to that grade, and created a sense of trust, where now we just trust that it's working correctly, in the aftermarket people at the time. So anyway, that's a lot to say that it's about a 96, but this doesn't seem to be a gap book, because you're still looking at about 127 graded.
Got it.
Wow.
Cool.
Seems low, but you're pulling from lots of different sales from a lot of different platforms and retailers. And
well,
and I think that's a great point, right? So, when I had my store, my comic book store, and people would come in and it was almost like a daily thing, right? Like, well, how much is my collection worth? How much are these comics worth?
Yeah.
And I would tell them, well, just go onto eBay, go underneath past sales, and do a search for that. But here's the thing: grade makes all the difference, right? Like, you think this is in excellent shape, but really what it might be is in midland shape, right? So this service that you provide is fantastic, because it's not a guide, it's a actual sales, right? And the thing that I always used to tell people, because they would say, well, the price guide says it's worth this much. And I would say, well, it's a guide, number one. And number two, a collectible is only worth as much as somebody's willing to pay for it. And, that's why going to past sales is really, really important, because that's what is showing is what people are willing to pay for it. And that's a really cool feature here.
Well, to that point, it's interesting. So so by the way, this one in a 9.8 went for about $11,000 in 2018. But check this out. So if I go to my collection on Cover Price, I can see all of my comics. I just put in about 400 here. I have more. I have more. Don't tell my wife. But so this is 465, worth about $11,000 collection. I can go ahead and sort and look at what the highest comic, highest valued comic that I have is worth, and it'll just filter my whole collection for me and tell me like Invincible right now because Bob, like what you were saying, because of the TV show and the popularity, you got Invincible, Spider, all these kind of things. But yeah, what I always say is like, even though Cover Price is saying that your comics are worth $11,000, this is if the cool thing about Cover Price is you can go in, I can click on this and say, I have a raw 9.6. I can choose any of the grades and we'll pull actual sales data on that grade, but it's always a starting point. Like very rarely is someone going to pay you, this one's worth $1,700. You're not going to get 1,700 typically, unless there's like a lot of interest around it. You sell it individually on eBay by yourself. Sure, you might get that. But if you're going to go to a comic shop or someone who's going to buy your collection in bulk, they're paying like 30 to 40% of what it's worth because they have a lot of work to do to get it graded, to make sure it's of the grade that you said, and they want to make a profit on selling it as well. So yeah, so it's always like it's a tricky thing. If you want to go one by one, you could probably achieve each of these values. But if you wanted to just go into a comic shop, it's definitely the start of the negotiation process because now you're not coming in blind. Like if I came in and said, "Oh, this Invincible, I bought it for $4, I'll sell it for 20." It's a $1,700 book. The conversation now is like, okay, how much will you buy it for if you're a retailer? And they might say, well, we got to make some money and we'll flip it, and so we'll give you 1,000 for it. But you wouldn't have had that if you weren't just informed with that knowledge.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great point.
And by the way, nice Mary Jane Watson negative space variant. Yeah, John Tyler Christopher.
Oh my goodness, I got this from him. We go to all the conventions, and this was so fun because he's such a nice guy, JTC.
He is, yeah.
And yeah, that one is fantastic.
I jump on all of his because I love his work. But I think I was taking a nap or something and I slept through that one. And I was like kicking myself for weeks, but
no, he's fantastic and the nicest guy ever. You go to a con and talk to him, he's like, he has a line that goes around the corner and he'll come out and go to each person and go, hey, thank you so much for coming in. You're all going to get a book. Don't worry. I have enough. Like he's really conscientious of that.
Yes, and I will point out that he did recently do a Captain America negative space variant. So
did he?
Finally checking the box.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely. I think a lot of cover hunters would want that.
Yeah, I've been bugging him for a long time, so clearly I had an impact.
Yeah. He got into his brain. All right, number 6 on our list here is number 114. And this is the first one of first appearance of Captain America Acrobat impersonates.
Oh,
this one.
Wait, that's Strange Tales.
Yeah.
Yes.
Strange Tales.
I will go. I could go pull my copy for that, but it's probably like a 2.0.
2.0, not even worth it. No, just having it. I mean, when you think about it,
that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, comics, especially Captain America. I mean, starting in like I could tell you right here, it goes all the way back to about 1940, right? These comics are like 80 plus years old in a lot of cases. It's crazy to actually have that in your hand and actually to have a piece of history like that, because each of these really are a piece of history, and you see reflected in the content what was happening at the time. World War II, and this is 1960, so this is like in 60s, so the beginning of Vietnam. Captain America's changing from being a symbol of liberty to being like a symbol of instead of a symbol of America into a symbol of like sovereignty and liberty and stuff like that. And the shift, like I gave a whole talk on how history and comics reflect each other. And you look at that like in the Bronze Age, right? All of a sudden you see like drug stories or addiction stories with like Green Arrow's buddy Speedy being addicted to heroin, and the ghost in the bottle, devil in the bottle kind of thing, or demon in the bottle with with Iron
Man.
Iron Man.
Yeah.
And these were all reflective of what was happening post-Vietnam, where people were coming back disillusioned. But you see this in the covers, you see this in the buildings in the background. It's fascinating to me. Like it really is a snippet of history that you get to that you read, and it connects you. It connects you to Americana.
Right. Yeah. I love that about particularly the older books, and I love my slab books. Don't get me wrong, but but you're right. Holding a 60, 70-year-old, 80-year-old book in your hand and realizing that some kid had this in his hand, while the world was very different around them than we're experiencing today. There's something magical about that, right?
Not only that, and I'm sure you probably covered this, but like in the golden age, right, with World War II, there was a paper shortage. So people were shredding these comics to have paper for packing missiles and stuff like that. So very few of these survived. It's like the to have one is literally like, I don't even know, like 1 in 1,000, maybe less. Like it's so rare to have these old comics, especially at a higher grade, because it went through so much life, during that time.
Right. Yeah.
Bob, you mentioned about, actually holding these comics in your hand. And I think there's an argument against this, digital comics, because you actually, there's that tactile,
Sure.
there's
Yeah.
that smell.
Yeah.
God only knows. I mean, like walking into a comic book store, that smell of old back issues takes me back. And you guys probably know that famous quote that's attributed to Stan Lee. I'm not sure if it's actually true, but where Stan Lee, he was asked if online comics would replace actual comic books, and Stan Lee said, "Comics are like boobs. They look great on a computer, but I'd rather hold one in my hand."
Oh my goodness, Stan the
Well,
man.
maybe somebody's come up with this yet, but is there a Yankee Candle old comic book scent?
Right?
Because it seems like that could be a good product. So,
Jeez, that
Christmas is coming up.
in this business, we've talked to a lot of people over the last like decade, and I know somebody who does. One person on our team, really nice guy, was a composer, and he would compose music to be read with specific issues. And he particularly loved like Silver Surfer because it was all this cosmic noises and stuff. And he would time it so that as you turn the pages, the music in the background would shift based on your reading speed. It was, and
wow.
like I knew another guy who would, yeah, I guess you could buy Disney candles that smell like the ride.
Oh, wow.
What?
Yeah, like, and there's so many big Disney fans out there. This person was going in.
I wouldn't want the Dumbo candle.
Yeah, just elephant feces is what that is. Peanuts.
All right, next one.
Next
where are
one.
we at? Number 5, 6, 7?
Number seven. All right, so this is a 1969 book, so smack in the, I guess, Silver Age still. 100 Captain America 110, which is the first appearance of Madam Hydra, who later becomes Viper.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. So here you go. Big cover with Hulk on it, big primary colors. 12 cents. You could have got this for 12 cents. And if you back in 2022 had a 9.8, you could have sold it for about $7,000.
Woo!
Wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Bob, come on. That's the power of Viper right there.
Well,
I'm telling you right
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
You know me, man.
Yeah.
That's my favorite villain.
I don't know. I know. Wait, so she was mad at, so that was when Hydra was kind of like the secret invasion type thing, right? Or is that something different?
No, that was basically the other side of Shield, right? It was basically the enemy, the opposite of Shield, I should say.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So this one's going for around 7,000 in a 9.8 back in the day, but now the most common condition for slab is about 9.0, and you're going to get it for about $300. And if you have it raw, in a fine condition, which is about 5 to 6.5, you're going to get it for about $87.
I got to tell you, I would certainly take Viper raw. All right, John, number 8.
Number 8. Tales of Suspense, number 63. So this is a 1965 book. This is the origin of Captain America retold. So this one is this one, right? And
okay.
You would know better than I, but I think this is where they kind of made him come out of the ice, right? They kind of brought him into this era.
Yeah, Bob, actually, Bob did a top 10 origins of Captain America, and this was definitely on there, Bob.
Yeah, well, I obviously he came out of the ice in Avengers number 4, but I do think this one, it was the retelling of his origin story for a new generation. So unless you went back to, the 1950s Cap books, the Commie Smasher books, where they briefly retold the origin, or Captain America Comics #1. I mean,
But Bob, was this the one that showed the serum?
Well, they went to the test tube, I think.
Yeah,
in this
right.
one. So
because
they didn't
because
do the
in
injection.
Captain America #1, they had the injection.
Yeah,
But because this was during the Comics Code Authority, they showed him taking the serum instead.
that's correct. Yes,
Okay.
They couldn't show needles or something, right?
that's right. Yeah,
Right.
no
Yeah.
hypodermics.
That by itself is a whole cool story of just the Comic Authority, and how I always thought, and I didn't realize it, I always thought it did become a law, but it was actually the comic books industry responding to Wilhelm something or other, who did the Seduction of the Innocent. He did the book that said like comic books are seducing children and making them bad,
Right.
just like video games, just like TikTok, just like like every
Yeah.
generation has it.
Every generation has something.
And I always thought that it went to Congress and that they actually passed a law, but it was actually just the publishers saying, don't pass a law. We're going to take a step back. We're going to do the comic code, and we're going to take out monsters. We're going to take out all that stuff. And then you see comics shift from like the people's faces melting off in covers, from the radiation of a bomb and stuff like that, to superhero. That
Right,
was really
yeah.
the genesis of that. But I always thought it was a law, but it was actually just an agreement among publishers. And then eventually they tested the boundaries in the Bronze Age and a little bit earlier, and it disappeared.
Yeah, it wasn't until much later where they they reintegrated the injection along with the serum, and then of course the Vita rays, all three elements.
So cool. And
yeah,
I mean, with bringing Cap back from the ice, I mean, you introduce a dynamic to his persona of like someone out of time. He's not just a symbol now. Now he's this person who's struggling to like, what is honor? What is America stand for? And then all of a sudden, with all these stories, right, you start seeing him being shaken from all of that, right? And like knowing that he's out of place, and he has these values from the good old days that he's trying to instill, and he's the heart of the Avengers, he's heart of the team, but he's conflicted. He's alone.
Right.
It's such a cool dynamic, and I don't know. I always just
that's why he's such a great character, John.
I was wondering, I'm like, you guys have a podcast just to Captain America, but he really is the best. Like, he is like truly a symbol and a heart and just everything. He's what a superhero represents.
Right. Yeah.
If I do enough push-ups, I might be as strong as now.
There you go. Get on it. Yeah.
So this one back in 2016 at 9.6 went for about $4,000. So definitely an approachable one. And now you could, of course, get it for around $30 raw for a very good condition, or in an 8.5 slabbed, about $300. Number 9 is a 1964 book, so another Silver Age book. This is Avengers number, the Jack Kirby, the UK price variant. So we were talking about price variants. So same story, but it's the UK version. So if you look closely, it'll say on the cover here, 9 pence.
Yeah.
Even though it looks like a D.
Right.
And from my experience, like finding a book in the UK. So the UK was always like rare to find an individual comic, because one, comics weren't as big in this time in the UK. Two, modern comics are typically smashed together. Like the story arcs are put in together and bound, not in a trade, but in a comic book that has like maybe 3 stories. So there's different publishers. I think Panini is out there, and they do the different covers. That's why this one's pretty hard to find, and probably why it made the list here. But you can get this one in an 8.0, highest known value in 2022 for about $4,800. But same thing, same story. Captain America joins the Avengers. So if you're looking for the if you want Avengers, the first Avengers, this might be an option for you.
I'm hearing a lot of highest price sold 2022.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Bob.
This was COVID, right? This was the tail end of COVID. This is people, again, we've talked about this a lot on the show. That nostalgic, people are collecting again. They're bored, they're at home, they're not having social interaction, and they're trying to relive their youth. People do it through different ways. We do it through comics, but we see a lot of, prices did spike during that time frame.
Such an astute observation. You're absolutely right. Like in 2019 and 2022, right when we started Cover Price, We were like, oh crap. Now, no one's going to buy anything. We should go back to our day jobs. And surprisingly, the industry went crazy, exploded. And were very grateful that people were so interested, but we thought it wasn't going to happen. We were getting really scared. What actually we thought happened is exactly what you said, Bob. Like, people when things are tough, people want comfort and entertainment, and these stories are comforting. And now you get people who are at home, they have their jobs, but they're stuck at home, and they start, trying to find ways to make money, and they start hearing what things are worth, and it just becomes this huge spiral where their comic book values really did explode during that time frame because I think there was a lot of attention on it more and more. It's also the era, the pandemic era, which is interesting. A lot of people that we interviewed for like jobs at Cover Price and just talking to them at conventions, I'd always ask like, well, what got you into comics? And the pandemic moved a lot of people who were like school teachers or lawyers and stuff like that. And they were like, I got, fired from my job or I had to take a leave. And I've reconnected with comics and I loved it so much that I figured, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why don't I do what I love? And it really was crazy. It was like an exodus of like professional skills and brought into comics. So it was it was a wild time, but it was definitely good for the collectible space overall. And I should say, people who were collecting baseball cards and other collectibles started dabbling in comic books as another like commodity or another collectible to trade, so to speak. So yeah, it really bumped up prices and things went crazy.
Yeah, well, and Rick will tell you that he started the Facebook group that we're all affiliated with now during that time as a way for people to come together and have some comfort, some solidarity at that time. And the podcast grew out of that. So that whole movement really impacted folks in many different ways, but in many ways positively.
I speaking of World War II and stuff like an impact of stuff, everyone looks at World War II and it's like it's horrible. It's a war. My dad was from Lithuania, which is one of the Baltic states, right? And so it was occupied by Russia. Then the Nazis came and took over the country. And then the Allied forces came in and liberated it. And there was a window of time that people in that area, the Baltic states and Poland and stuff like, were able to get out. Maybe Poland was never involved, but the Baltic states and stuff, they were able to get out. And so because of World War II and the horrible stuff that happened, my father was able to come to America as a refugee, and he had some family here and was able to go there. Met my mom and Cover Prices here because of World War II.
There you go.
So,
See,
it's a weird,
yeah,
it's kind of that Buddhist, we'll see what happens kind of
Right.
perspective.
Yeah.
All right, here to finish up this list, top 10. This is 1940, The Human Torch, number 3. And this one's interesting.
Uh-huh.
This one
I know this one, I think.
You do?
Is this
So this one,
Yep.
the reason this is on the list is because it actually contains 2 ads for
Yes.
Captain America number 1.
Before it came out, right? The first appearance. Some would
1940.
argue. Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. We're going to get into arguments about cameos and first appearances here, Bob.
No, but I do know that there's someone in our group, in the Facebook group, that has a copy of this, and I recall when he bought it because he in a separate group he talked about it and showed scans of those pages and made that argument that this was the first time that Captain America appeared in print.
When you look at this cover and like the primary colors, there's red and blue. You have Human Torch flying around. I didn't know that. But it was Human Torch and Submariner, where there was the big, superheroes back in the day, and so insane. But yeah, like it's funny. Some comic book collectors will look at like ads and inserts and references as first appearances. They're definitely key because they've never existed in comics before. The Tick, that character was first previewed in another comic book or a magazine. And stuff like that. So you see that all the time. But this one made the list, and it is from 1940, and the highest known value is a 4.0 CGC, and it went for about $3,000. So if you can find it, we only have 4 in our price guide.
That's remarkable. There's so few copies extant out there. And in relatively low grade in some of those titles.
Yeah.
So John, I've seen this before. Getting back into the first appearance of Wolverine, right? Hulk 181, 180. We all know it's 180. But there was also an ad for The Coming of Wolverine. Do you know this?
No, I didn't really.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes, I remember that as well.
Yeah, there is an ad just like there is like in here in Human Torch for Captain America. There is an ad for Wolverine, and I mean,
but it wasn't in a Marvel book, was it? It was in a, you know, like a collector magazine or whatever. It wasn't Wizard World, I don't think, at that time. It was
no, I don't think it was Wizard World.
No, it was
Bob.
something. But I'm saying it was something like that had an ad for that.
Are you
comic.
sure? I thought it was in Marvel Comics. I could
don't
be
think it was.
wrong.
Yeah.
All right, something for you to look into, John.
The other thing is people do prototype characters right before they come out. They'll just do like a version of them, and you'll see them in a background someplace. And I think Savage Dragon started off as you talked about Eric Larson. I think there was a prototype character that he used and in a different comic, and then different name or in the background, and then he brought him in. Like a lot of these creators have their characters that they have, and when they're working on other people's projects, they kind of like will put them in or do stuff. So like that's one of the things that makes this so interesting, you know, truly. But it's also the thing that the biggest controversy and like debate that I've ever seen, you know, is people saying, well, what's the first? I think they're all noteworthy. I think they're all worth mentioning, and then let you guys decide, you know, whether or not it's worthy.
Well, I'm much more likely to get Human Torch #3 than I am Captain America Comics #1. So therefore, I am going to make the argument that this is the first appearance.
I'll second it.
Bob, I agree with you, and now this is on my list.
Oh,
yeah, because John, here's a little thing about me. So I have basically from Avengers 4 to now, as far as Captain America appearance, right? So I have Tales of Suspense 58 through 99, Captain America 100 to now, and then you saw I have Avengers 4. I did not go after Golden Age Captain America, and when I completed my collection, because just wasn't my thing, so I decided to have a different monkey on my back, which was collecting Captain America original art. But I may make an exception for this particular issue of the Human Torch #3. I may just go after it thanks to you.
Oh, well, thanks to CoverPress.
Yeah.
You do original art. Now that's a whole nother genre.
Yeah,
that's
I was
amazing.
going to actually bring that up to you. You know what does not exist is an original art price guide. And so that is something that I think is sorely missing from the original art market. Right now, the best thing that we have is similar to eBay, where we could go on to a heritage auction or other auction houses and look up what they went for and say, okay, well, this page from this comic went for X. So this page is pretty similar. It should be in the same price range, right?
Right.
But I got to say, that's an untapped market for you.
Yeah,
Original art out there, it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And for us, the hard part about it is it's usually a one of one, or it always is a one of one.
Yeah.
And so for us to aggregate sales and say what it's worth, that person would have had to sell it multiple times to be like, oh, here's it's trending up and stuff. But one thing that we are trying to do is we can pull in signature stuff, and you can designate something in your collection as signed. And eventually we're going to say like, oh, you're at Human Torch #3. Here's what we can't say, like, because some signature series stuff would be like, you know, 3 or 4 different creators or an actor's signature. Like it's all over the world of what it could be. But what we can do is say for this one, here's all the signature series stuff for this particular comic that it went for. And so maybe we could do the same thing with original art and say like, you know, this one, you know, here's some original art around this one. We know it exists. We don't know what it's worth, but you know, here's what the comic book's worth. You can assume that it's going to be worth more, like stuff like that. But it's hard because there's just not a lot of data points for us to pull from for original art.
Yeah, I could tell you though, from somebody who buys and sells original art, some sort of price guide similar to what you guys offer for comics would be invaluable.
Yeah, and those guys are loaded, John. So you could charge like an outrageous subscription price for that.
$1,000 a month. Yeah, no, original art's definitely something I want to play with as cover price progresses and I can afford it. But it is amazing to actually hold and seeing the pen strokes and the inking and stuff like that. It's like it really is. If you are a fan of something, you can't get closer to the source than that.
Yeah. Well, John, this has been a lot of fun. I know you had developed a couple of other top 10 lists, and maybe we can, have those and share them with our listeners. But yeah, thanks for sharing this top 10 Captain America keys and back issues, because there are a few surprises on there for me. I don't know about Bob.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't expect that last one, but in context, it doesn't surprise me. Man, this has been a great conversation. I mean, you had several lists. I could talk to you for hours. I especially loved, maybe at some point we could have you back do that variant one, because that one I think a lot of folks would be very interested in, myself included. But and it's such a great platform, and it provides such great information. I'm still fascinated by how the back end works on this thing to make it seem so seamless and user friendly. But it is a real game changer for collectors.
My pleasure. Well, thank you for having me on. And honestly, like the cool thing about comics is the conversations that come out of it. There's so much nostalgia and so much like memories of where you found it and stuff like that. And it's fun to hear that passion and excitement when you start talking about it. And it's such a visual medium that like as you're showing the image of the cover and stuff, and you're like, oh my God, that's, look at how vibrant this is. Look at that, it takes you back in time. So it's really cool to talk to such huge fans of Captain America and being able to kind of share that list with you guys. Honestly, it's my pleasure. Like I said, I will provide you guys with the other lists. And if you guys want to have me back on, like there are so many aspects about collecting that are fascinating. I mean, we could do a whole thing on variants, like you said, about like we have a whole article on like 35 different types of variants and the nuance of it. There's so much, the average collector probably doesn't realize that we can get into. So yeah, I'd be happy to come back or give you guys that information and let you guys, disseminate it to everybody.
Yeah, and everybody check out coverprice.com, and that's cover without the E. So COVR price.com, because there's a lot of free stuff on there too to check out. So there's a lot of articles. We just talked about key comics and top variants and things like that, but they also have articles on there for hot comics and weekly movers, daily shakers, rare finds. Like I like going on like the hot comics and then seeing like this week, like these are the back issues that are the big movers. And I'm looking and we talked about this before. Some of these are listed as raw, and some of these are listed as graded comics. So you get to see a little bit of both. But for instance, in this week that I'm looking at, X-Men, Uncanny X-Men 268, which was that famous Jim Lee cover that has Captain America and Wolverine and Black Widow, that has made it onto the daily hot list. And right now, the CGC 9.8 graded is coming in at 162. So and then Marvel Superhero Secret Wars #1 is also on this list, probably because there's some talk about with the movie and everything. And that one, the CGC 9.8 graded, is coming in at $268. So fun information that you could find on the website. So make sure you check it out, and there will be a link in the show notes for everybody if you want to check that out even more.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for having me, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, that went fast, John.
Yeah, it always does. There's never enough time.
All right. Thanks for coming on the show, John, and we'd love to have you back.
Thank you so much.